व्योमाग्ने भागिनगं सन्तमथा भागञ्चिकीर्षति अभागमग्ने तङ्कुरु मामग्ने भागिनं कुरु शब्दार्थभाविभुवना सृजतीन्दुरूपा या तद्बिभर्ति पुनः अर्कतनुस्वशक्त्या वह्न्यात्मिका हरति तत्सकलं युगान्ते तां शारदां मनसि जातु न विस्मरामि श्रोतांसि सर्वर्षिहृतां यदीये प्रज्ञासमुद्रे मिलनं भजन्ति तं ज्ञानविज्ञाननिधिं शरण्यं श्रीसद्गुरुं त्वां शरणं प्रपद्ये. A warm welcome to all of you. Honestly, I was not expecting that I shall go first. So I was a little taken aback when he said that you are next, you are going to speak. So pardon me if I sound a bit rustic. But anyway, the subject today is, we are welcoming Vasanta just 3 days before its actual arrival. So it is scheduled on 9th and we are welcoming it on 6th. So it's like, just like how nowadays pre-wedding shoots happen before wedding. It's something similar to this. So we are beginning with this one. First and foremost, what is the sort of difficulty that we usually find in relating with our panchanga? Panchanga is a panchanga is a very intact thing in almost all our Indian families. It is also kept in such a place that nobody interested can find. Yeah, that's actually quite embarrassingly serious, because if anybody wants to understand the panchanga, first and foremost, they would not understand in what exact manner it has been prepared. It would take a while for us to understand how to read panchanga. And then the most difficult part, because I also started as a student of Jyotisha, the first lessons were how to read a panchanga. Because that's basic, that's fundamental. The difficulty in panchanga is there is not enough space to mention all the intricate details that are required to be mentioned of a particular day. So what they do is they have come up with a genius plan. They would just mention A, B, C, and then you have to search for A. A would be somewhere else. B would be somewhere down. So it becomes a daunting task for us to even begin the journey of studying panchanga. So that is the first turn-off thing, because usually what happens is, because since we cannot understand what is panchanga, we feel that it's okay, we don't want to know panchanga. And the second thing is, since the whole world has been following a particular calendar, we just don't want to shift over to our original calendar. And here lies our most important problem, because we are trying to map our festivals in someone else's calendar. It's like you are searching for your agenda of your day in someone else's phone. If you are going to do that, you are never going to find your agenda on their phone. And that's exactly what has happened to us, and that has hurt us for all these years. As Neil mentioned in the beginning, if you ask anybody, when is Ugadi? April 9th. Because we speak in a very specific calendar year. In 2024, April 9th marks Ugadi. But that's not true for the next year or the previous year. So how do we understand this? How do we inculcate the panchanga into our daily life? We need not work on that, because there already exists a certain system. And that also, unfortunately, has been taken away from us. I will tell you how they have taken it away, or how we conveniently have ignored that. The next word in my title given is, of course, I will come back to panchanga and I will explain what is panchanga and why this is a capsule of panchanga. It is not a replacement of panchanga. It is just a capsule in a format that can be easily accessed. The problem is about accessing the panchanga. Even if you have a panchanga at home, we don't know how to read that panchanga. So this has been the whole effort of our team, has been to make it appealing to people, make it easily accessible to people. Now, more on that later, but now what is Sankalpa? Sankalpa is a word that everyone knows. If anybody is a temple goer, they would know what Sankalpa is. The definition of Sankalpa given in Amarakosha is Sankalpa Karma Manasam. It is called as Manasam Karma. Right? Thank you. Sankalpa is called as Manasam Karma. It's a mental activity. Anything that we think, anything that we resolve. What is mind? Mind has been defined as Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manaha. Closer. No, I am afraid because my hands shake. So, so I don't want everyone to know that. So anyway, now you know the secret. It's an open secret now. Right. Mind has been defined as the thing that resolves and dissolves. That's all the mind does. Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manaha. It takes a resolve, and immediately after that, it dissolves the same thing. And it does that the whole time. If this is what mind is made up of, and it happens because of its constituents, because it is comprised of sattva, rajas, and tamas. And the very nature of sattva, rajas, and tamas is to dominate one another, is to fight for the supremacy. So when three things are fighting for supremacy, usually two of them get dominated and one seems to be uplifted only for a while. And that's why mind sometimes takes a resolve and immediately we dissolve that. They identified that this is the activity of mind, this is what mind is, and then said that you need to have a strong resolve. So therefore, in our tradition, in our culture, before we begin any work, anything, first and foremost, we do a sankalpa. That need not be in the sankalpa mudra that we are actually aware of. It can be without that mudra as well. For example, we see somebody and my hands are full, our hands are full because we are carrying something, but we do greet them. We tell them namaskara or namaste. That is also without the mudra, because this, the folding of hands, is called as a mudra. That is namaskara mudra. Without the mudra as well, we can convey the content that we want to convey them. Likewise, sankalpa can also be done without doing the sankalpa mudra. So if that is true, then how do we inculcate, how do we bring together, how do we intertwine panchanga and sankalpa? So they identified that our panchanga is very unique because it has 5 macro things and 5 micro things. Only the micro things have become popular. Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga, and Karana. That is the first thing when somebody says Panchanga, Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga, and Karana. But that's not the only 5 angas that are considered as Panchanga. There are 5 more macro things that have been inculcated in our Sankalpa. If we closely observe the Sankalpa, the first parts I will leave that because there are plenty of details into that. Dandakaranye, Godavari Tire, all these things that can be changed based on the place from where we hail from. Now it all starts from the Samvatsara. That is the big thing. You can find all 5 macro things as well as 5 micro things in this calendar. That's the beauty of this calendar, because not a single detail has been missed. Even if it has been not dealt, even if it has not been mentioned, it is for a particular reason. We have not mentioned yoga and karana in this calendar because they are not popularly used, point number 1. Secondly, it creates a lot of confusion when you give too much of information in one page. The most frequently used details are all mentioned there. Now, where have we mentioned the Samvatsara? The first macro thing of Panchanga is Samvatsara. Where have we mentioned Samvatsara in this Panchanga? The whole thing represents Samvatsara. The entire calendar is a representative of the upcoming Samvatsara, that is Krodhi. And then immediately after Samvatsara, Krodhi Nama Samvatsarasya, immediately we say Uttarayane or Dakshinayane. We have 2 ayanas. Ayana is the two halves, if we split the entire year into two halves, we get 6 months each. And these 6 months are not only based on time, but many people may not know this, but they are actually inculcation of the seasons. So 3 Rutus in Uttarayana and 3 Rutus in Dakshinayana. Although Uttarayana would have begun way earlier, even before the actual Chandramana Samvatsara begins, Uttarayana would have already begun, because Uttarayana and Dakshinayana is not calculated based on the movement of the moon. It is calculated based on the movement of the sun. So that is the first point of reference that we get in our daily Sankalpam, that our calendar that we use daily is an amalgamation of both solar and lunar calendars. It's not only one. There is another interesting fact that I wanted to share. In our country, we have 5 different methods to calculate that are usually used in astrology. For astrological calculations, we have 5 different methodologies. The popular amongst them are only 2, solar and lunar, Chandramana and Sauramana. The word mana means the methodology of calculation. Now, apart from these 2, we have Nakshatramana, where we use the nakshatras, where we use the stars to calculate, because they are fixated. Naksharatiti nakshatram, that which don't move, are called as nakshatra. And then we have Barhaspatyamana, which is not used in the southern part of India. It is used either in the eastern or the northern part of India. That is based on Brihaspati. Brihaspati is Guru, Jupiter. It is based on the Jupiter's movements. And there is one last mana that none of us are aware of because it is not popular. It is called as Savanamana. So what is the contribution of Savanamana in our Panchanga or in our day-to-day usage? Is there anywhere mentioned about the Savanamana? Yes, it is. How do you think we calculate day? Dina. The very concept of Dina is calculated on Savanamana. We all know that the day begins at 0001, right? No. No, it doesn't. It doesn't begin at 00001. It begins at sunrise. Udayad udayam bhanoho bhumi savana vasaraha is a quote taken from Surya Siddhanta, where they say that starting from the sunrise to sunrise, you will count it as one day. And if you want to see how we have inculcated this very fact in the calendar, observe very closely, there is a dotted line. Starting from the inner circle to the periphery, till that periphery, there is a dark line and then dotted lines. That marks the beginning of sunrise. That marks the beginning of the day. And that can be used across all the places. All you need to do is, you just need to observe when is the sun rising in your city. So this is applicable globally as well. Although we have taken the calculations based on Mysore and Bangalore, because that's where we worked, but it can be used on that idea that sunrise marks the beginning of our day. All right, so Samvatsara and Ayana. Ayana is Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. It has got a major influence. It has got a very, very impactful thing on our thinking. You see that most of the functions, marriages, Upanayanam, Chaula, and all such things happen only in the Uttarayana, right? Not in Dakshinayana. Dakshinayana is only for festivals. Dakshinayana is more known for celebrating various deities. Uttarayana, and we also hear a beautiful story. I'm afraid to speak about stories when Vinay is here, but still, Bhishma waited till Uttarayana, till the dawn of Uttarayana. There is an importance of Uttarayana that is very much a part of our life, but we have let go of that. Anyway, this is the attempt to bring all those things back. So Ayana is the second macro aspect of Panchanga. The third one is Rutu. Rutu is the seasons. So 6 seasons we all are aware of, and the name, the title itself says that welcoming Vasanta. Vasanta is the first Rutu. And this Rutu has got Rutunam Kusumakaraha is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. He says that of all the 6 seasons, you can find me in Vasanta. Kusumakaraha means when the flowers bloom. That is basically Vasanta. All right. And then the fourth one is Masa. Rutu has also been mentioned because we have followed the same color combination, same idea. And this time, I guess, we have mentioned the name of the Rutu in both the pages. You will find the name of the Rutu in 2 Masas because 2 months each will give us 1 Rutu. And the next aspect is Masa, that is month. 1 page represents the month, and on the top left corner, you will find the name of the month as well. And finally, the 5th aspect is the Paksha. Where can you find Paksha in our calendar? You all must be wondering what is Paksha, because the only time we hear the word Paksha is during Mahalaya Paksha. After that, we don't hear, unless it is election season, just like now. During these times, we hear Paksha. Otherwise, if it is anglicized, then we will only hear the word party. Okay. Anyway, now the Paksha can be found in black and white band right in the center. If you closely observe, there is a white band and a black band in the center, and that represent Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. And if you closely observe the calendar again, you will find 2 flags, one at the top and one at the down. The top flag reminds that the southern states usually follow from right to left. That is, they start from Shukla Paksha and end in Krishna Paksha. And the northern states start from Krishna Paksha and end in Shukla Paksha. So these are the 2 systems of calculating a month that is followed in our country. Right now, as we speak, it has already been 13 days in the northern states since the new Samvatsara began, since Chaitra Masa began for them. Because they calculate from Krishna Paksha. And for them, our Phalguna Masa's Krishna Paksha is their Chaitra Masa's Krishna Paksha. It's a small alteration that we need to understand, but there is no harm in that. Because both systems have been mentioned in the Shastras. One is called as Purnimanta Masa, another one is called as Amanta Masa. The southern states follow Amanta Masa, and northern states follow Purnimanta Masa. There is no much difference in that. So all 5 aspects, the macro aspects that I have just shared now, can be seen in the Panchanga and in the calendar, sorry. And then the most popular ones, Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga, and Karana. I have already told you the last 2 have been omitted purposefully because it would create. People nowadays don't even know the name of the nakshatras. And if we introduce yogas as well, which we are going to do soon, maybe in the coming years, but not now, definitely not now, because this is an attempt to bring people on this side. It's been quite a long time since we have been on that side. We have always wondered that Makara Sankranti for us is on January 14th and January 15th, or January 14th or January 15th. And that needs to be gone from Indian minds, because that's not the way. That's not the way to understand the beginning of Uttarayana. What a beautiful beginning that is. And we have been noting that down in our mind and passing it on by saying that it either falls on January 14th or 15th. That needs to go. Therefore, we first start with, I don't know if Neil shared this or not. There's a funny story about it. I think we worked for around 1 month. Almost 1 month's data collection was done in the last year, because we were fixated on the idea that nakshatram means that which doesn't move. So we want to fix that. We want to present that idea that nakshatras are constant and everything else will be mapped to the nakshatras. It was a daunting task. And all of a sudden we had a miracle kind of thing. And we decided that, no, hold on a minute, why don't we make the varas that are very easy to follow? And that's how we fixated on the varas, because you can find this circle right next to the Paksha band of white and black. Immediately you will find the varas. And the names have been mentioned in Devanagari, Ravi, Soma, and Kuja, Buddha, Guru, Shukra, Shani, like this. Now, there is one more point to be observed, the color combination. The color combination has been taken from the Shastras, where a particular color has been designated for a particular graha. Yet another interesting that I wanted to share is how do we calculate the Vara? Why is it that the young minds could ask this question one day? Why is that we get Monday after Sunday? Why is it not Tuesday? It's a very simple question. There is an explanation for that. We work on a concept called as Kala Hora. There are certain advanced works in Jyotisha where they say that an astrologer, any astrologer that doesn't know what Kala Hora is unfit to be an astrologer, is what they say. Because the Kala Hora changes every 1 hour once. And it starts from the sunrise again, based on that particular place. Imagine the first day of this universe was on a Sunday. It all started with Ravivara. So the first hour from sunrise was entirely dominated by Ravi. And then the next one was by Shukra. I'm sure that you are all you are aware of these names. So it's just a mental exercise so that I won't put you to sleep. So just need to remember these 7 things in a sequence. The first is Ravi. The second hour belongs to Shukra. The third hour belongs to Buddha. Fourth hour belongs to Chandra. Fifth to Shani. Sixth to Guru. And seventh to Kuja, that is Angaraka. Now there are 7 things, 7 planets placed in this sequence. You repeat them thrice. You will get 21 hours. And then you again start with the 22nd hour, again with Surya, 23rd hour with Shukra, 24th hour with Buddha, and the 25th hour will be Chandra. Because 24 hours marks the end of a day. Therefore, right after Sunday, we get Monday. Right after Ravivara, we get Somavara. And you can do the same calculation all by yourself, and you will see that it never misses out. That is one of the unique things that we follow. And you get to know, even some people might be wondering that how did our ancestors know that this is the exact day? You can still wonder about that when you hear the stories of all the Naga sadhus and Aghoris and all such great sadhakas who assemble every 12 years once without getting any invitation. No e-invites as well. They simply pop up at that place. How? It's because they can map this. They can understand this. You can keep a record of Kala Hora every single day, and it does wonders to all of us. It's just that it takes a time, and it takes a while to get used to these names. And of course, it's a boring job. 1 day, 2 days, yeah, everyone can do. But if you have to do it for 1 year, it should become a habit. In order to make that a habit, we have to practice it for a year, and that will take a while. Anyway, moving on, next circle, you can find the shape of the moon changing, which denotes the tithi. Okay. The definition of tithi that has been given in the texts of Jyotisha is the 12-degree difference between the sun and moon is called as a tithi. Okay. So that increases the moon is either increasing from the right corner, or it will be decreasing on the left corner. It depends if you are going to start from Purnimanta or Amanta. It depends on you. But you can actually see, and there is one way of checking whether this calendar has been made precisely or not. All you need to do is pick any month, because we have given the dates as well. The month starts from so-and-so date to so-and-so. You pick any day and start observing the moon in the night sky. Preferably do it in Sharad Rutu, because they say that in the Sharad Rutu, the moon comes very closer to the earth. Tatasharat Chandra Karabhiramaihi is what Bharavi also says. Anyway, fine. So you can observe each and every day and can see if the representation of the moon given in the calendar is similar to what we see in the sky, in the night sky, or not. That way, we not only connect with the nature, we also put the calendar to good use. The purpose is not just to decorate your houses with this calendar. The purpose is to make this calendar tick your brains and work every day, just to know what tithi is today, what nakshatra is today. As happens of today, I think Neil mentioned that today is Phalguna Masas Krishna Pakshas Dwadashi. At the current moment when we are talking, it's already Trayodashi. That's how quick time is. So that can be mapped in the calendar itself. At the dawn of every day, what nakshatra was there, what tithi was there, and at what point in a day it ended, and when did the next tithi begin. And plenty of confusions that exist. You need not ask the Google anymore. You can look at this calendar and you can understand why Krishna Janmashtami is celebrated on 2 days. Because on one day there will be Ashtami, and you can observe that at the dawn of that day there will be Ashtami mentioned, 8, number 8, and the picture of that moon. And on the next day, probably Rohini Nakshatram will have plenty of space on that day. So depending on that, because Krishna Jayanti is based on Rohini Nakshatram and Krishnashtami is based on Ashtami Tithi. So these are two different concepts. That's the reason why we celebrate Krishnashtami or Krishna Janmashtami on 2 days. Where is the conflict here? There is no conflict, because the basic idea is very much clear. Since we are not clear of these ideas, it creates a confusion in our mind, thinking and saying that Indian calendar is very difficult to understand. It is not. It's very easy. And lastly, yoga and karana, which are not actually mentioned here. But if you ever want to calculate karana, it's very simple. I will tell you how to calculate karana from this calendar itself. Take the duration of a tithi, okay, and cut it into half. So because tithyardham karanam, the half of a tithi is called as karana. So every day will have 2 karanas. There are chara karanas and sthira karanas, which I don't want to bore you, because I know my time is up. I get to know that. So, so these are the 5 important minor or micro aspects of panchanga. Combined together, it is included in our sankalpam as well. Now we get back to the sankalpa, because that's where we all started it. So what is the purpose of remembering time while doing every single activity? We do Sandhyavandanam every day. Oh, by the way, Sandhyavandanam includes 3 important aspects. Arghya Pradhanam, which was applicable to every single human being on the planet Earth once upon a time. Then it was removed. It was sectarian kind of thing happened later on. But Arghya Pradhanam is very much an integral part of every single human being. You go to villages, you ask some old people, the first thing they do before they get to work is they give Arghyam to the sun. Because without sun and the moon, you cannot ignite the third residing fire within ourselves. Because this is the Trinity that works. And mind resolves. We do all activities only because of the energy generated within the mind. And that energy is generated by the fire. And in order to keep ourselves intact with that fire, we need to create a Trinity. And how do we create the Trinity? We create that by mapping the movements of sun and the moon, because sun and the moon can be seen in the outer space. And the fire is within us. And this all makes sense because the whole of Jyotisha Shastra, is dependent on only one theory. The theory that has not been exposed, that has not been told. That theory is called as Driktulyatvam. You must be wondering, what is Driktulyatvam? Driktulyatvam means it must match the vision. What should match the vision? Our calculations should match what we see. So we all had Vedashalas, observatories in our country as well, long time ago. So whatever calculations we have done, the mathematical calculations, that should match with the observations that we do in the observatory. Is that it? Is that what is called as Driktulyatvam? No. Jyotisha always works with the principle of 3. Omne trium perfectum is what the Latin phrase says. Everything that comes in 3 is perfect. Jyotisha has 3 skandhas: Samhita, Siddhanta, Samhita, and Hora. Right? It is a form of Trinity that we are trying to achieve: Surya, Chandra, and Agni. Soma, Surya, Agni, Lochana. This is one common word that you can find in every single deity's Ashtottara Shatanamam. If not in Ashtottara Shatanamam, you can definitely find it in Sahasranam. Because every single deity is made out of these three aspects, and that has been included in our day-to-day panchangam, in day-to-day sankalpam as well. Whatever activity it is, even if it is a repetition of the activity that we do every day, we must remember from where it all began and where do we stand right now. And all of that counts, all of that makes sense, because this is the only thing that can be measured. It is called as kala because it can be kalanam. Kalanam means to count, to measure, to quantify. This is the only thing that can be quantified. If you go to the Upanishads, you will know that Brahma is vast. It cannot be quantified. Is there a form of Brahma that can be quantified? Yes. Kalosmiloka kshayakrit pravrittaha. Right. So I am that time, what Krishna says. And that time is gananatmakaha. It can be calculated, it can be quantified. And why are we doing this? Our calculation of time is nothing but the sakara upasana, saguna upasana of Brahma. Because time is nothing but Brahma. And when we take all these names, for 2 months, we are going to say the same Rutu. Shishira Rutau, Vasanta Rutau. It's okay. But you can identify the small changes that happens in Tithi, the small changes that happens in the star, in Nakshatram. So all these things are very much important for us to take into account before we embark on any activity. That doesn't mean that if you want to hit somebody. It did happen actually. It did happen. My teacher used to tell us this anecdote that he had recently began his Jyotisha practice, and one gentleman one day came to my teacher and asked that I need a muhurtam. I said, okay, for what purpose? I said, I want to beat a person. You give me the right time when I can beat him. My teacher was perplexed. And then he asked him that, why are you seeking the right time to beat someone? Because I don't want to be attacked by him again. So you give me the right time. So, but no, this is not for that purpose. This is also, sorry, one last thing, 2 minutes. I'm going to finish in 2 minutes. There are plenty of facts involved in this calendar that I don't want to miss out on, at least the major highlights. If I miss out on any highlights, you will realize it on your own, which is wonderful, isn't it? So it is named as Parva Darshini. The reason why it has been named as Parva Darshini is because it shows the important Parvas. What is Parva? Parva means the festival, not just that. Parva also means the ring that we find in the sugar cane. That is called as Parva. And if anybody is into cultivation, then they would understand that in order to cultivate sugarcane, you need to protect that ring, because from there it sprouts. And this Parva that we celebrate, the festivals that we celebrate, the whole purpose of all the Parvas that we celebrate in our country is only one thing: to look within ourselves. And that's why time is so vital. That's why we need to map the time. Because this Driktulyatam, the one last thing that I forgot. No, I did not forget. I remembered, but I thought that you might have forgotten. The third thing is about mapping. Driktulyatam is not just about mapping our calculations with the outer space. It is also about looking deep within ourselves to find whether all three of them have fallen in a straight line. Only when all three of these observations fall in a straight line, that's when Jyotisha triumphs. That's when the inner light triumphs. After all, we are celebrating the Jyoti, isn't it? Parva, Jyoti. You cannot go away from these concepts in Indian perspective. Therefore, this calendar serves as an initiative to help ourselves to find that inner light. And Parva is the time when there is a popular Kannada proverb, Gali bandaga turiko. Right? When the winds are favorable, one must sail. sail towards the inner journey. To conquer the inner world, one must sail when the times are favorable. And to identify the favorable time, we need Panchanga. That's why we keep mapping. Every single day, there will be a favorable time for us to sail towards our inner world. And in order to identify that, in the beginning of a day, when we do Sankalpa, we remember each and every aspect so that we can plan accordingly that, oh, this time for today, I'm going to keep it empty. I'm not going to involve myself in any materialistic activities because this time is meant for sadhana. You cannot imagine an Indian lifestyle without mentioning.
With camera person Sanjay Ponappa, this is Maruti Acharya for India Today SoSouth.